Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting to order, and I would like to ask our board members to identify themselves as I call your name. Todd Ferrante is present. William Buchanan?
Present.
Katie Addis?
Present.
John Andes?
Present.
William Gordy?
Present.
Elena McComas?
Present.
And Donald Smack.
Present.
We do have a quorum. And now I need a motion to approve today's board meeting agenda and a second.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Smack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gordy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now I need a motion to enter into closed session under general provisions of Article 3-305B of the Annotated Code of Maryland for the following reasons. To approve closed session minutes from the previous month, in Section 3-305B1 to discuss appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personal matters which affects more or one specific individual, and to discuss matters relative to negotiations. Can I have a motion to enter into closed session and a second?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. McComas,
Second.
a second by Mr. Smack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in closed session. As we reconvene this Board of Education meeting, I want to let everyone know that we do have a quorum. Today, a closed session meeting was held today pursuant to general provisions of Article 3-305B of the Annotated Code of Maryland to approve previous closed session minutes, to discuss personnel matters, and discuss matters related to negotiations. And as a result of that meeting, we need to add an agenda item under administrative operations. Can I have a motion to add 7.2, ratification of negotiated agreement, to our agenda today?
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Smack,
Second.
a second by Ms. McComas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And now, Pastor Dale Brown is here from the Ocean Pines Community Church. We appreciate him being here today. He will lead us in the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
So thank you for this invitation, and I apologize because as soon as I'm finished praying, I've got to go back to work. So I'll let you do your work and I'll go do mine, but thank you. Let us pray together. Wonderful Christ, we thank you for this day, for the beauty of this creation which gives us so much to draw from and to enjoy and to be reminded that life is beautiful and it's a great gift. We give thanks for what Worcester County Schools has accomplished this year. We pray for students and teachers and all who are involved in summer activities that they would be safe and blessed and well. And we pray for this board as it makes important decisions, guide and direct their conversations, help all of us in life, in this meeting and in other places, to listen first before we speak and to seek to understand and to work together for those who are most vulnerable, most in need. And we celebrate the diversity of our community as we think of Juneteenth and celebrations in the African American community coming up, but in all of our communities, we are blessed by the citizens we have. We again give thanks, and we ask your wisdom to rest and abide upon all involved today. In the name of our loving God, amen. Amen.
Pastor Brown, thank you for being here. Thank you for that wonderful invocation. We appreciate it. And now I'd like to ask my board for a motion to approve today's open session board minutes from May 21st and June 6th.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Buchanan,
Second.
a second by Mr. Smack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Taylor for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrante. I'd like to begin my remarks today by first thanking the majority of our Board of Education and our entire executive team who attended the 31st Annual Eastern Shore Superintendents and Board Members Education Conference in Kent Island yesterday at the Chesapeake Beach Club. It was well attended by Worcester. In fact, I was very proud as a superintendent that of the 9 Eastern Shore counties, we had the largest contingent of folks from Worcester County attend that. We heard some really great speeches and comments and talks yesterday. We heard from our new state superintendent of schools, who was very impressive in her comments yesterday. We also heard from our state teacher of the year from Anne Arundel County Public Schools, who did an outstanding presentation. And we also heard from the leadership of the AIB. As all of you know, the AIB are kind of the folks who are setting the Maryland blueprint in motion. And our own Dr. John Andes got probably the applause of the day when he questioned about how we were going to pay for the Maryland blueprint as we move our school system and systems forward. So I thank you for that yesterday, Dr. Andes. And I know my colleagues, 3 of my colleagues yesterday said something to me during a break or before they left about really appreciating one of our board members speaking up on that behalf. So again, thank you to the board. Thank you to the executive team for attending. As all of you know, June is really a whirlwind as we come to the conclusion of school. Just last week, we said goodbye for now to our students and staff. And of course, just 2 weeks ago, we said goodbye to our graduating seniors from our 3 high schools and the special graduation ceremony from Cedar Chapel Special School. But just as quickly as our halls emptied last week, we are already gearing up to welcome students back for summer academies. Beginning next Monday, June the 24th, our schools will reopen their doors once again for a 5-week program where students will get hands-on learning across content areas like literacy, mathematics, the arts, STEM, and health and wellness, among other things. As always, Tamara Mills, one of our coordinators here, leads that process, and it's certain to be another great experience for them all. And Tamara, I thank you for your leadership in those areas. And I would be remiss today if I didn't say a few words off script about our school year. I first want to thank the most important people in our schools, and that's our kids. Worcester County has great kids. Let me say that again. They have great kids. To go along with those great kids, I have been honored for 40 years to work, and still today, with the best teaching staff, if not in Maryland, in this entire country. I see how they pour their hearts out each and every day, and Worcester County is truly blessed to have outstanding teachers. Also, we have outstanding leaders in our administrators, both central office and school base. What they do, all 14 of our school leaders and their staff and the central office staff put in endless hours to make sure our kids receive the very best. And last but not least, our support staff. Whether it be a custodian, cafeteria worker, nurses, secretaries, bus drivers, the list goes on. They are the ones who make those learning environments conducive for learning for our young people. And I also want to thank the Board of Education for their commitment to staying focused on doing what's best for kids day in and day out. As superintendent, I have the best supportive Board of Education anybody could ask for. And I thank them for their leadership in making sure that we stay focused and that I stay focused on what's important. First and foremost, our kids, and secondly, as our budget this year will show you, making sure that our employees are compensated for the jobs that they do. So it's my honor to serve as superintendent once again, completing my 8th year, and I look forward to the 9th year coming up. And I know we're going to do great things, and we're going to do great things because we have a community here in Worcester County who believes in Worcester County Public Schools. I know that for a fact. Probably this year more than ever, as I go throughout this community, the number of people who have stopped me and thanked me for staying the course on what we do here for our young people in this school system. And I often remind them it's not me. It's the people that surround me and the people who open those doors each and every day to walk in there and spend with those young people. So again, I thank all those involved in making Worcester County Public Schools the exceptional school system that it is, and the exceptional school system that it will stay as we continue this journey of educating our young people. So with that, Mr. Ferrante, I want to wish everybody a happy and safe summer. For those of you that stay around, enjoy the bay and the ocean. And for those that travel, please travel safely. And I hate to say this, but September is right around the corner. So enjoy your summer. And again, thank you to everyone, those who are listening to us today, for what you do to make us a successful school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you for those sincere comments. So when one door closes, all of a sudden, we have our new 2024-2025 student representatives who are joining us from our schools today. We'd like to welcome them. I have Teresa Gu, Chloe Hoffler, and Lucas Popolaski. We'd like to welcome you to join us for the next year, and we look forward to hearing your wonderful reports. And today, I believe I'm starting off with Teresa Gu. So, Teresa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Ferranti. My name is Teresa Gu. I am a student from Pocomoke High School. Over the last month, we were fortunate to celebrate the class of 2024 as they completed their final days as students at Pocomoke High School. Our senior parade, where families and community members lined Market Street to celebrate our seniors, was a tremendous kickoff to the senior festivities. During intent night, we celebrated the post-secondary plans of our senior class. Our Senior Awards Night celebrated students that received school and community-based awards. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of our teachers and guidance team, the class of 2024 received $3.82 million in aid to assist with post-secondary plans. Our commencement ceremony took place May 28th, and we were blessed with great weather. We were excited to celebrate our senior class with our families, staff, dignitaries, and guests. The class of 2024 truly did make a great impact at Pocomoke High School, and we were fortunate to celebrate this accomplishment with them. We are excited about several upcoming events taking place at Pocomoke High School over the next few weeks. We will be welcoming students back in our building on June 24th for Summer Academy. This year's offerings include Freshman Academy, Math and Reading, Health and Wellness, Driver's Education, Podcasting, Made Men and Women Who Rise at UMES, and Say It With Music, where students will work with a Grammy Award-winning music producer. Additionally, Pocomoke High School students will be attending the Future Business Leaders of America National Leadership Conference and Educators Rising National Conference beginning on June 29th. Pocomoke Community School students and staff are grateful for the continued support of our Board of Education and Executive team. We look forward to an exciting summer of learning and educational opportunities and the beginning of the 2024 to 2025 school year. And now, I'll be transitioning to Worcester Technical High School's report. We have 3 different groups heading to state and national competitions next week. HOSA is going to Houston, Texas, FFA is going to WISP in Western Maryland, and Skills USA is going to Atlanta, Georgia. We want to wish all the students and staff good luck and safe travels. Our summer stat camp will begin in July. This year, we will have over 200 students signed up to participate. This is a huge jump from our first year in 2021, where we had 58 students participate. We like to thank our custodial staff for all their hard work as they immediately began stripping and waxing floors once school was over. It is a major undertaking, particularly at our school, because our building will get lots of use during the summer. We'd like to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Tony Bevilacqua and Mrs. Laverne Cray, who will be our principal and assistant principal beginning July 1st. Lastly, we'd like to wish Mr. Tom Zimmer and Mr. Wynette Hansen a safe and happy retirement. The two of them had a combined 74 years in education, with all but 5 of those years in Worcester County. Now, turning it over to Chloe Hoffler from Snow Hill High School.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as a student member of the Board of Education. I'm Chloe Hoffler. First, I want to welcome Mrs. Salvarola, our new assistant principal, and Miss Hilbert, our new school counselor. We look forward to getting to know them both. A special thank you goes to Dr. Tingle for his leadership and Nurse King for her dedicated care for students. We wish them both the best in their well-deserved retirements. Additionally, we extend our best wishes to Mrs. Zollinger and First Sergeant Shea as they transition to their new schools next year. Congratulations to our recent graduates. On May 30th, 76 students graduated, marking a significant milestone in their lives. We are deeply grateful to the board for their generous funding, which made this special graduation ceremony possible. With the 2023-24 school year now complete, the counseling department is eagerly preparing for the upcoming year, which will bring some changes. Beginning July 1st, Mrs. Rose Zollinger will be relocating to serve the wonderful students and staff of Stephen Decatur Middle School. For 15 years, Mrs. Zollinger has been an integral part of Snow Hill's school and community. Her presence and impact are deeply appreciated and will be greatly missed. We are excited to welcome Ms. Hilbert, who brings strong experience in preparing students for college and careers, and will serve our junior and senior students. We are also excited to start our robust summer academy on Monday, June 24th. We have a variety of learning sessions available this summer, including English and math support, credit recovery opportunities, outdoor learning academy, podcasting, social emotional groups, Say It With Music, and driver's education. Summer Academy sessions will run from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. each day and will continue for 5 weeks, ending on July 25th. On behalf of Snow Hill High School, I would like to wish everyone a restful summer. Now I am turning it over to Luke Popolowski from Stephen Decatur High School.
Good afternoon and happy summer to everyone. I'm Luke Popolowski, the Stephen Decatur High School representative.
Luke, excuse me, Luke, could you pull the mic close to you so everybody on the live stream can hear you? Thank you so much.
While the sun sets on another school year, new things are dawning at Stephen Decatur High School. First, let's begin by recapping all the awesome events and happenings during the months of May and June. Our amazing class of 2024 was offered a record-breaking $20 million in scholarship money to various four-year colleges and universities, two-year community colleges, and trade institutions. On May 22nd, our seniors participated in the 5th annual Boardwalk Processional, where parents, teachers, the student body, and hundreds of community members came out to cheer them on. On May 28th, we welcomed local ministerial association to Decatur for our baccalaureate service. Then, on May 29th, we celebrated 317 graduates, many of whom graduated with honors and many more donning academic cords and garb from the National Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society, Rho Kappa Social Studies Honor Society, the National English Honor Society, and the National Technical Honor Society. We also welcome former governor and current candidate for the United States Senate, Larry Hogan, who served as the commencement speaker. Fireworks capped off a very special evening. For our spring sports season, domination was the name of the game, with several teams and individuals soaring through the district, conference, and regional play and making their mark at the state level. Stephen Decatur spring teams participated in 5 Bayside Conference championships and 5 regional championships, with our softball, baseball, and women's and men's lacrosse teams going on to collect regional titles. At the state level, we had commendable performances by our bocce ball team, outdoor track athletes, and the mixed doubles tennis team of Matthew Beck and Emily Ferguson, who placed second in the state. To put an exclamation point on the spring season, we had dozens of Bayside South Conference honorees, including a handful of players and coaches of the year. We are extremely proud of our athletes, especially the 150 plus who earned Minds in Motion. To finish the school year, we successfully administered hundreds of MCAP, SAT administrations, and final exams. We held a fabulous Shakespeare Under the Stars production, band and choral concerts, and the NJROTC flag demonstrations. Several of our students visited our younger elementary age students for reading sessions at all 3 Northern End elementary schools, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes conducted a community build. Looking ahead, we are super excited about our upcoming Summer Academy, which features both academic and enrichment programs, including media and math, freshman academy and arts, SAT prep, school links, and college application orientation and credit recovery. We are also excited about our in-house professional development opportunities for our teachers this summer. In closing, on behalf of the student body at Stephen Decatur High School, I'd like to thank our Worcester County Public Schools leaders, our Board of Education, our hardworking teachers, and all other members of the faculty and custodial staff for their roles in making the 2023 to 2024 school year truly memorable. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not thank everyone here in the room for welcoming student members to the board and giving us a voice. Best wishes for a safe, productive, and happy summer. This concludes the student representative portion, so I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Ferrante.
Luke, thank you, and thank you, Chloe, and thank you, Teresa. you guys made it look easy. I don't know if you've been practicing, but you made it look real easy, and we're very happy that you're here. We look forward to your reports, and we look forward to spending the next year with you. So thanks for being here with us today. And now it's time to recognize any members joining us from the following organizations. Do we have anyone present from the WCTA? Good afternoon, Beth. WCESPA? Good afternoon, Ivory. The Worcester County Retired School Personnel. Good afternoon, Gwen. And any representatives from any various schools, SIACs, PTAs? Okay, thank you for being with us today. Now we arrive at 5.2, which is individuals and delegation comments. I don't have anyone on my list wishing to speak today. Is there anyone out in the audience that wishes to speak today? Okay. Moving forward, I will turn it over to Dr. Annette Wallace for the GT identification process.
Good afternoon. I'd like to bring forward Ms. Tamara Mills, who will be sharing a presentation on our gifted and talented programs.
Tamara, you got to speak into a mic so the live stream can pick it up.
Some things we never learn. Thank you. So we're always learning. This is my first time presenting directly from the Canva platform, which is a wonderful platform, but never done it directly from there. Ms. Steers taught me how to do that. So today I'm going to put my GT hat on and talk to you a little bit about how we identify students for gifted and talented and a sampling of some of the services that we offer, because we do occasionally get questions about it from parents, community members, even schools and teachers who may be new to the entire process. Several years ago, the State Department changed and updated their GT policy, and that required a few changes for us. But we also just simply wanted to sort of update our process for identification, make sure that it was equitable, make sure that we were making sure that all of the students eligible were ultimately being identified. So some of the newer policy requirements are that there have to be multiple measures to identify a student as GT. You cannot use one test or one score or one unit. It has to be a combination of different things to look at a student's aptitude and abilities. It has to, at least one of those measures has to be a universal screening. So every single child at the appropriate age level for identification has to have been given those opportunities with those measures. And of course, then once students are identified, then services do have to be offered to our students. So to meet the multiple measures and universal screening, we have 4 elements. The primary talent development portfolio, which I'll explain in just a few moments, the COGAT assessment, which stands for cognitive ability test, the gifted behavior checklist. So this looks at behaviors not from a discipline perspective, but from a gifted characteristic perspective, and then MCAP and iReady scores, because ultimately a lot of our programs and services do fall in the reading and math and science area. Because while there are students gifted in the arts, that would be additional assessments that we would need to give. However, there are teachers in the arts who identify students. And then services offered, you'll see a sampling of STEM classes, math enrichment. William & Mary is one of the leading universities in the country. So we have a few GT units that a couple of teachers use for that. Phoenix Writing Labs, research, and so on. When you look at our timeline, we start actually the identification process all the way in pre-K. So from pre-K to 2, students are getting primary talent development lessons. And these are science-based lessons, a little bit of arts as well, visual spatial. And they get 2 modules per year. And the teachers will kid watch as well as record the outcomes of those lessons. And that creates a 4-year portfolio. So the student will have, it goes with them each year. So in pre-K, they'll get the modules, in kindergarten, in first, and then in second grade. In 3rd grade is when we offer the COGAT assessment to every 3rd grade student. And that is, excuse me, I have a slide in a minute that'll explain that a little bit more clearly. And so all students are considered at that point to be eligible for identification. And then in grades 4 through 12 is when we offer the services. We also do, one of the new requirements of the policy was that counties had to take a look at their middle school students, choose a grade, 6, 7, or 8, and reevaluate and see if any students had made huge progressions from 3rd to 7th. So, and this year we did 8 students, 7th graders, were either missed at 3rd grade because we're human and that can happen, or those students made huge strides in their academic achievement and abilities. And so we had a few new identifications in 7th grade. So again, what is PTD? It is, they're science or arts-based modules. The students receive a score on each lesson of readiness, emerging, progressing, and independent. And ultimately what teachers are looking for in that 4-year portfolio is lots of P's and I's in order to kind of meet that PTD threshold for GT. An example would be something called Design Dilemma. It's a module, and what they do is they read a story that's created for this module called The Fourth Little Pig, right? We all know the story of the 3 little pigs. And what the students have to do ultimately is use creativity and brainstorming and some flexible thinking exercises to figure out how the 4th little pig is integrated into that story and build and design a home that can't be blown over or fall down and that kind of thing. So, and the great thing about PTD is it was designed to really make sure that equity, it has an equity lens, because a lot of times what was happening years ago is our younger white females were getting highly identified. And let's be honest, a lot of times they were our early talkers, right? So teachers saw that communicative ability. Sometimes, and I have 2 boys, so I just speak from my own personal experience, but sometimes our males are not always as early communicators, and so a lot of times they were kind of getting overlooked by that. So there were a lot of factors that went into sort of misidentification, but we're really looking clearly now, not just on those most obvious identifiers, you know, not just always the student who has their hand up and has A's, but also those students who have these characteristics of giftedness that we didn't particularly look at before. The COGAT is a standardized assessment that focuses on reasoning and problem-solving skills. There are 3 batteries within the assessment: verbal, nonverbal, and quantitative. So it measures essentially a mathematical portion, a reading portion, and then a visual spatial portion. And then students receive a stay 9. So we're looking at students who receive a stay 9 of 7, 8, or 9. So then that's when they get identified. So you wrap all that together and you've got your four measures, right? You've got your PTD portfolio, your COGAT score, your MCAP and iReady, and then your gifted behavior checklist. And those students are identified. So the state recommends that we have 10% minimum identified. That is a state board recommendation that, I don't even know if it's recommended, the COMAR states 10% minimum identification. We are right at 10%. And I feel good about that because ultimately when you look at true giftedness, if you're a school system in the 20s and 30%, to me, I think you need to take a look at your process and see if ultimately you're identifying correctly. So if you look at our actual demographics, we are, as a county, we are 37.4% minority. 34% of our 10% are minorities. So we feel really good about that. I mean, that we're really taking look and notice at our population. We are 19.14% African American, but only 10.3% in gifted of our gifted kids. So we need to take another look at that. Excuse me. Looking at our African American population, we are 11.15% students with disabilities. Only 1% is in gifted. Now that might raise questions, right? How can you be a student with a disability, but also be a GT student? It is called twice exceptional, or 2X. And so ultimately what it means is you may have deficits or disabilities in one area of your learning, but you may have incredible potential or aptitude in another area. And then finally, we're 52.16% farms, but when we look at our 10% that are identified as gifted, only 26.5 are in GT. So we can clearly see what 2 subgroups we really need to kind of focus on and find out why are they not being identified in a way that's more reflective of our population. And so how do we do that? One is through training. I've worked with Dr. Brown, who is our multicultural education coordinator, and we did some training at PLCs to talk to third grade teachers who are the ones identifying about what true gifted behaviors really look like, examples of some of those things, and we went through this process with them. And then making sure that our multiple measures are the best measures. And so we're continually looking for what is the best way. Sorry, I'm going to skip a little bit because I know we're running short on time. A couple of examples. So once they're identified, their services begin in 4th grade. And it will vary from school to school, and sometimes it will vary from year to year because our teachers who provide the GT services are always learning. For example, Bo Williams, who is the librarian at Snow Hill Middle, went to a conference through a state grant that we had a couple years ago and came back with some amazing ideas and kind of changed up his program. Some of the things you'll find in 4th and 5th grade at the schools are coding, sphero robotics, excuse me, a young authors contest. They do research projects, and they did a book creator this year, digital book creator. In 6th through 8th grade, some of the schools are using the William and Mary curriculum, as I mentioned, to do some investigation units. One school did a tourism project for their downtown. 3D printing, all the GT programs had 3D printers at the middle school. National History Day and Phoenix Writing Lab. I'm so sorry. And then at the high school level, we have our AP classes, dual enrollment, and internships. Thank you. So very quickly, just a couple of samples. This is at BIS. These 5th and 6th graders, they built a physical replica of Berlin. They wired it and then troubleshooted problems from a storm. And if you've ever taught at a Berlin school, you know that every time it rains, you lose power. So ultimately, they toured the Berlin power plant, and they gained a lot of knowledge about electricity and generators, and then they had a demo from Chop Tank Electric. It was a really valuable experience, very hands-on. Another project that they did was on communicable diseases and outbreaks, which is very fitting considering COVID. So they learned how to prevent the spread of the infectious disease. They tested bacteria, completed a lab, and then culminated in an art exhibit, science art exhibit at the Smithsonian called Outbreak, and it was all around infectious diseases. And they did find that Clorox was the best cleaner. So they tested lots of different cleaners. And then one more sample is a research project using Book Creator. So at Buckingham, the 4th graders were given topics that they could research and investigate, and one of the topics was Greek mythology. And Jazir Thomas decided he would use a digital book creator. If you use your phone, you can actually use that QR code and go right to his book. But for time's sake, because I'm going to go ahead here, and there's his book that he's created completely digitally with all of his research. The pages flip, he's added the pictures, the descriptions. He was super excited, and so essentially it's a digital published book. So these are just some of the things that you'll see if you go into our classes. One more at Buckingham was this coding, Lego robotics coding. So you can he's actually determining the code in the computer on his own. You'll see he has a little Lego robot there, and he's going to code that digitally to make it move.
Let me test this one. No, wait.
And so he figured out how to make it dance. So those are some of the units that our GT students are doing. So are there any questions? I know that's a lot, and there's still so much more I could talk about, but any questions?
Mr. Buchanan?
Tamara, you know I always have to have questions for you.
Absolutely.
Do we have a number of students that are involved in Gifted and Talented in Worcester right now?
I do, but honestly, I forgot to bring the exact number. It's 10%, 10.2% of our 3rd through 12th graders currently, but I can absolutely get you that number.
Okay, that's fine. To pick a teacher to be a Gifted and Talented, is there an evaluation for that? Is it volunteer? How do we do that?
So ultimately, it's a school-based decision on who they prefer as the teacher of those students. Generally speaking, you would choose a teacher who typically has a background knowledge in gifted behavior characteristics. That might be through a workshop. MSDE offers some CPD credits for courses. There are a couple of master's programs, and we do have some teachers who have taken those courses. But ultimately, it's a school-based decision on the principal deciding who is the best fit for working with those high-achieving students. It does often end up being librarians, believe it or not, and that's common kind of across the state, because they were not only trained with literature and high vocabulary and things like that, but also the media aspect of it. So a lot of our librarians have this technical skill side that they can pull into the programs.
During the course of a school day, a student who's been picked for gifted and talented, say in the elementary, middle school, or say elementary school, would they be time during their day to leave the regular classroom to go to
Yes.
gifted and talented classroom?
Yeah, so generally most 4th through 8th graders have some kind of enrichment or intervention block, and so typically that's the time if they have like a boost block or sometime in the day like that. It might range anywhere from a half an hour to an hour, depending on the age and the availability in their schedule. Some schools make it a separate special during the specials rotation, and then others use that intervention or enrichment time.
Okay, thank you very much. It's really impressive in regard to the screening and assessment that you go through. Now, I remember when, and I'll use Dr. Andy's, I'm old, that gifted and talented when I was in school was basically, if you were artistically talented, you were kind of picked out to do all the bulletin boards, for the school and that. So I'm very happy to see this program.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone has questions specifically about that identification, I'm happy to go into more detail.
Dr. Andes? Any?
Oh, sorry. I just had 2 quick questions, more or less for the parents. If a child is coming in from out of county or out of state, are they given this test right away?
So there's 2 ways that this can happen. If they come from another Maryland county, we reciprocate, and all counties in Maryland do that. So if I'm moving from Montgomery County to Worcester and I was identified in Montgomery County, we accept that identification. We trust that their process follows COMAR like ours does. If they come from out of state, we generally would want to retest them, and an example would be we had a young gentleman who came to 4th grade this year. Well, we had already done the identification in 3rd grade. Simple request from the parent. It did take a little bit of time because we had to make sure we got the COGAT set up for that grade level and given the battery of assessments. But yes, he was given that COGAT, and then we looked at the MCAP and the iReady. The only thing was the PTD, and you don't have to have all 4. I said there were 4 measures, but sometimes 2 to 3 indicate high enough result. So that student was ultimately identified as GT.
Okay, and I had just one more question is, are they only allowed to test during these specific times? And I bring that up because if there is a parent that said, I really think my 5th grader or my, high school student is gifted and talented, are they able to retest, or how does that work?
So if it's a student that already went through the identification process in 3rd grade, and a parent the next year says, I really don't feel like my student was properly, I think my student should have been identified. Our county now, as with our new GT guide that was created just a couple years ago, there is an appeal process. It's a 2-step appeal process. So the first one, if you say your kid was not identified, but you think they should be, the parent fills out the first appeal. And essentially, they just fill out the child's name and a request to have another look at the data, and they give it to the principal, and the principal contacts me, and we get together. We take another look at that data and say, did we miss something? Which it did happen once last year. There was a student who did not get identified, but after taking that second look, we said, you know what, we missed something here, something, and it was because the child had been in the blended learning program, and so didn't have some of the same indicators, so we retested, and now that student is GT. There have been other cases where a parent has said, I really think my student should be GT. We took another look, and ultimately they still didn't qualify. And so we send them a letter with the data, and then we also send a letter from the COGAT data, specifically explaining kind of where the child's deficits are, where their strengths are, and gives the parents ideas of things they can do at home with their child to sort of increase some of those skills. And then again, we do re-identify, we do take another look at every student in 7th grade,
Right.
so that if they've made that jump.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody, any other board members? Dr. Andes?
I just wanted to thank Ms. Mills for the outstanding job she does. I don't know how many different responsibilities she has in the school system. I probably can't count them all.
You can't see me, I'm juggling behind my back.
But I just wanted to thank you for everything you do for the school system.
Thank you.
As an instructional leader and balancing everything that you do on a daily basis. You're just absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much for your support.
Dr. Andes, I'll answer that question for you. Ms. Mills probably has, over the time that I've been here, more responsibility of a variety of different things, probably more than 10 or 12. And she does it and always does it to the best of her abilities.
Thank you.
I do just want to clarify what you
Yes.
said when we were talking, because there are people watching on the
Yes,
live stream.
absolutely.
So when we were talking about the spread of infectious disease
Yes.
and bleach being our #1, that was used to clean surfaces only.
Correct.
Okay.
It actually had
Right.
nothing to do with COVID. It was simply
Well,
a unit
I just
about
want to be
disease.
clear because people are watching, so I don't
Sorry.
want them to think that in any way you can use bleach for something else.
No.
It was used to clean surfaces to not spread disease.
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms.
Should have been
Mills,
clearer.
On behalf of the board, we just want to thank you. I know it's been said, but we want to thank you for the terrific job you do with GT. We appreciate what you do, and it's evident that it's going well. So thank you.
I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
And now for the WCPS math initiatives, I'll turn it over to Ms. Shorts.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrante. And we would like to welcome Ms. Sarah Blackburn. She is one of our newest coordinators. I'm not sure that everyone has formally met Ms. Blackburn. She replaced Kirsten Dana Savage this year and has been a wonderful addition to our curriculum team. And I know there's been a lot of discussion around mathematics and the challenges with the math scores that have come out, and as recently as yesterday, we had discussions at a meeting that we were at around mathematics and the scores, and even at some of our meetings, community members often come to our meetings and talk about possibly the rudimentary, simple things that our kids are exposed to with our math assessments. And so Ms. Blackburn is going to share one of the examples of our 5th grade math assessments, and hopefully as a board you will see the complexities and the rigor, and quite frankly I'm glad I'm not a 5th grader at times when it comes to what we're asking of the thinking and the reasoning and the modeling and all the complexities that we ask of our 5th graders. So Sarah, welcome a year later, as of July 1, to our math team, and thank you for sharing this knowledge with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. As I'm ending my first year as coordinator of mathematics instruction, I was asked to present on our math initiatives, so I chose one. We have a lot of initiatives. I could talk for hours about all of the things we're doing with students and teachers of mathematics, but we're going to look at math modeling today, and I think this gives us a good window of what is expected of students in mathematics, because it is not how we learned mathematics or we're expected to do mathematics. We're really asking students to take things to the next level. So our purpose is we're going to look at a 5th grade example. This 5th grade example involves multiplication of fractions. We're going to use that example to provide an overview of how we model with mathematics. So to be college and career ready in mathematics, meaning to meet the 5th grade standards, students need to show mastery in these 3 areas. So we have content, we have reasoning, and we have modeling. Content is just what you think it is, right? It's the math content. Can you do the math as outlined in the standard? But then we also have reasoning and modeling. So reasoning is this: can you explain the math ideas? This is not like a real world problem, but they might give them a diagram or some other math equation to explain, and they have to explain why it makes sense. And this is for 3rd grade all the way through Algebra 2. And then modeling, which we're going to focus on today, is about, can you apply the math to a real world problem? So can you take that content and use it to solve problems, and then communicate your thinking? So on the assessment is about 50% content questions, and then the other 50% is our modeling and reasoning. So we're not just asking students to do the math problem. We're asking students to really take things to a next level with application and with explanation. So the skill we're going to look at is multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. This is a 5th grade skill. Notice that the standard does reference solving real world problems in it. But we are going to look at the content piece first. So I'm not going to call on anyone. So I know everyone saw this fraction and probably had a little bit of anxiety. But what we do ask students to do is we practice this skill. We teach them how to multiply fractions. We teach them pencil and paper, but we also ask them to do mental math with this. So our 5th grade students would easily solve this problem using mental math strategies. And I'm going to show you an example of a number talk from our 5th grade classrooms and how our 5th graders, 3 different 5th graders, approach this problem. So when teachers do a number talk, which is the beginning of every math block, the teacher poses a problem, gives students some think time, and then asks students to share an answer. So I'm going to spoil the answer and say that all students did say the answer was 66, which is correct in this class. And then we have students turn and talk to a partner. And while those students are talking to their partner, the teacher's listening because the teacher is looking for a couple different ways that students have solved it. So we're not just randomly asking students to share, we're being very targeted that I want to see this strategy and I want to see this strategy. So here are the 3 student strategies that this teacher chose. You can see that answer of 66, all students agreed on that. The first student, you can see their initials, AS, up on the board. They thought of it as 1/3 of 9 is 3, so 1/3 of 99 is 33. And 33 times 2 is 66. Okay, so the second student, BW, thought of it as 99 divided by 3 to get 33, and then also did 33 times 2 to get 66. And then we have our third student, initials TY, and this student used a more traditional algorithm that you're familiar with. But notice that in this case, without pencil and paper, this one is much more complicated. But this student still used some really good strategies to solve this problem efficiently. So this student knew that 99 is 1 less than 100. So they applied that in that last line there when they found that 2 times 99 is 198. And again, they found that answer of 66. So we don't stop there, which is where a lot of our math schooling did stop. But we asked them to also solve real-world problems with that mathematics. So, and this is where our modeling standards come in. We have evidence codes related to MCAP about modeling with mathematics. And this one asks students to create a solution path that represents the mathematics needed to solve a real-world problem. So this is our modeling cycle. This is also in our standards. And I like to think of this a lot like how we learned the scientific method that starts with a hypothesis and ends with communicating your results. The modeling cycle is a lot like that. So we start with a problem and it ends with students communicating that report, communicating their solutions to the problem. And a lot of what they're doing with this modeling is applying that content. So here's the problem that we proposed to our 5th grade students. This problem is about babysitting. It's a very real world context for a 5th grader or a middle schooler. So this says Haley babysits after school 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. She earns $9 for each hour she babysits. Haley babysits for 2 hours each day on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. She babysits for 2.5 hours each day on Thursday and Friday, and she saves 2/3 of the money she earns each week. So the question is, how much money will Haley save from babysitting in 1 week? We have several multiplying of fractions opportunities in this problem with the 2.5 and the 2/3. But there's also a lot of interpreting, which is part of our modeling expectations, where the students have to figure out, well, what is going on in this problem? And then the students have to either type an answer, which this first box at the top is a type box, so they could type equations, they could type words, they could type sentences. But they also have a draw box at the bottom. So if a student wanted to write out equations, if they wanted to draw a diagram, if they wanted to make a table, they could also communicate their thinking in that way. And when we say solution path, we're looking for not just one way. We are looking for a correct answer, but we're also looking for students to be able to communicate their pathway to get there. So here is one student's solution. One student's solution, she found that correct answer of Haley saving $66. And what I love about this student's solution is it shows a lot of how writing and math and writing and literacy are a little bit different. So this student used very few words in their explanation, but we can see what this student did step by step very clearly. She saved $66. She told us which were hours and which were dollars, and had a very clear path of how she got there. So our next student did a lot more explaining in their text box and in their draw box, and we're going to hear how that student explained their thinking to this problem.
Task for
Sorry.
I have been practicing Desmo tasks for the past year to get better at explaining my thoughts and thinking. So Haley babysits for 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and she gets $9 each hour she babysits. She works for 2 days from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and 2.5 hours on Thursday and Friday. She saves 2/3 of the money she gets each week. How much money does she save? And so first I did 3 times 2 because she babysits for 2 hours on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And that equals 6 hours, and then I did 2.5 times 5 over 2. Well, I changed 2.5 to 5 over 2, and then I multiplied that by 2 over 1 to get 10 over 2, which is also equal to 5 hours. Then I added 5 plus 6 because she works for 5 hours on Thursday and Friday, and for 6 hours on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And that gets 11 hours. And then I did 9 times 11 because she gets $9 for each hour she works. And 9 times 11 equals 99. And then I do 2/3 times 99 because she saves 2/3 of the money and spends 1/3. And 2/3 times 99 equals $66. And I also used the draw box to explain a lot of my thinking.
Okay, notice this student used the letter A a lot. The student, I think, was saying A for answer. Every time they found an answer, that was their A. So this student took a very different path with equations to get there, but again, clearly we can see that they've applied that skill. We know this student knows how to multiply fractions, but also they know how to interpret problems and apply them. We also provide for students a math modeling checklist where we have them assess their own modeling. So this is a way that they can see that they are on track. Teachers provide feedback, we provide grades for them, we ask them questions to help them with their modeling. However, we also have the students assess their own selves so that they know if they're on the right path with their modeling. So as we're moving forward, and we know all students have access to calculators, we want students to be doing more than just calculating in math. We want them really getting to that heart of mathematics, which is this problem-solving piece, and using all of the math that they've learned to problem solve in the real world and in their futures. So modeling in mathematics is one way that we're helping them move forward with that. To see other examples, of math modeling, I'm frozen, but I do have a slide that has a link to our MCAT practice problems, which are a mix of content, modeling, and reasoning with that 50-50 split on the test. So you'll be able to see that. There it is. You'll be able to see that if you'd like more information about what these problems look like. So do we have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. McComas.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I just want to say thank you. I understand this type of approach to math has probably been used for a while, but it is a great joy to see the fact that a child can sit down to a math problem and come up with it a completely different way than the person sitting next to him, and it's okay. This is the grandmother that helped her grandchild through Common Core math, and we both cried. So I'm so thrilled over the fact that we're allowed to do that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Sarah, I
applause?
just wanted to say, first of all, I'm geeking out as a math teacher, so I love this. And for anyone who's watching or anyone on the board, as a former math teacher, the two things that are most difficult for students is fractions and word problems. And as a high school math teacher, those were literally, and if I asked most of the adults in the room to solve a problem right now, you'd be like, please don't give me a word problem. Does anyone want to shake their head they want it? Because let's go. I love to do a little competition, so we can. And you'd say, please don't make it fractions, whatever you do. And so I think one of the things I'm most proud of our math programs and of the work of Sarah and Kirsten before her and all of our staff is that we are teaching mathematics in a way that makes sense. And so we really have, there is a time for rote memorization and being able to repeat things really quickly. But at the same time, students from my generation, and I was educated right here in Worcester County Public Schools, it basically was all memorization. And you were rewarded like you would be rewarded working in a factory for how quick you could get the job done. And unfortunately, what that created over time was learners who had very little understanding conceptually of what a fraction stood for. And so therefore, they would go out into the real world and sometimes go to the IGA in Snow Hill and corn is 12 for $4 and have no understanding of how much they should be charged if they got 6. And so all of that goes back to this this understanding of fractions and how fractions work and why we use fractions. So thank you for your leadership. It's wonderful to continue to see our students grow. And I just really enjoy that because I'm a math teacher and it's just the best for me. No offense to the other content areas.
Ms. Schwartz?
Yeah, just very quickly, Sarah. I know that Dr. Andes often asks about the timeliness of us getting scores back. So could you remind us how math assessments are scored by the state and how a problem like that would be scored?
Yes, so our content, that 50% of the test that's content is scored, it's machine scored. It's usually multiple choice or just enter an answer. So those can be scored very quickly, but when we're looking at these longer problems, they are scored by humans, teachers from Maryland who sit on committees and agree to scores of these tests. Myself and several of our coaches have been part of this. So that takes a lot of time. And so every student response is read by
several people. And then if there's disagreement over how to score them, it's read by more people until that agreement is reached. So that does extend our timing quite a bit with our math tests. So we're expecting to see our results by August 15th this year is the date that has been promised. So we're really looking forward to seeing our continued student growth. None of us will be satisfied till 100% of our students are proficient, but we are proud of growth that has been made over the past few years and continued growth in the future.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so
Any other
much.
questions? Ms. Blackburn, thank you very much. We appreciate the hard work you're doing with our students, and it was a nice presentation. We enjoyed it. Thank you again. Now I'm going to turn it back to Ms. Shorts
Yes.
for the prolonged state of emergency. plan.
Yes, so we want to very much thank Ms. Carrie Steers, who very much led and spearheaded the next piece that our presentation to you around the prolonged state of emergency plan. So as you know, when March 13th hit every school across
A day
the
that will live in infamy.
Yes, the day that will live in infamy. No one really knew what was about to happen or what to do, and the state of Maryland has now said that that will hopefully never happen again. But if it does, everyone will be prepared with a prolonged state of emergency plan. So Carrie very much took the leadership on this plan and very much used the best pieces out of what we did after March 13th and our plan during COVID and put it together. But she would like to present along with Annette and I'm sure we'll chime in where need be. But I did want to give Carrie all the props for doing this. So thank you, Carrie.
Carrie, before you start, let me just remind those who are watching, in case you didn't know, I saw a couple eyebrows raised when you said March 13th. On March 13th, 2019, I received a call from the state superintendent, all 24 superintendents, saying we were going to close for 2 weeks. And 3 years later, we were still fighting this battle of COVID. So I want to, why they said that date is so important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
For those who didn't understand what that was.
Yes, I apologize. So I still have PTSD, so it resonates with me. But that was it. And so, again, Maryland has made it very clear that that will not happen again, and we will always have a prolonged state of emergency plan, which does make sense because it could be other than some type of illness emergency. It could be other types of emergencies.
Absolutely.
So Carrie spearheaded it, and she's going to walk the board through this for your approval.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Carrie.
Absolutely. So as Ms. Schwartz said, this is something that the legislation requires every Board of Education to adopt, and you'll be revisiting it every 2 years, so we look forward to that. And I just want to say, as much as Ms. Schwartz just gave me some props for doing this, I really can't take the credit. I kind of facilitated this process, but just by bringing everybody together to kind of work on their different pieces of this plan. But I'm certainly not the content expert in all of these areas, but I'm happy to present this to you because on behalf of everybody on the central office team that really worked hard to put this together. So I will say we did use a lot of our best practices from our responsible return plans, all 4 iterations of it, as we went through that process. So before you in your paper packets, you should have a copy of the plan as well as the rubric from MSDE. That rubric is actually what the board is meant to kind of go through this plan and look at. I will say I went ahead and baked the rubric into the plan, so as we're going through it, you can kind of see those different pieces as we kind of walk us through that. But it needed to address staffing and personnel, student instruction, student assessment and learning supports, social emotional support, community communication, technology, nutritional and health services, and of course a return to in-person instruction. So I'm just going to have everybody start on page 3. I believe it's page 3, yes, which is our staffing and personnel assignment plan. And I just want to stress to the board that this is meant to be a flexible plan because we don't know what kind of state of emergency could potentially be called. And I guess I should also explain that the governor defines a prolonged state of emergency as a state of emergency declared by the governor
under Title 14 of the Public Safety article that prevents regular in-person attendance at public school for at least 14 consecutive school days. So that's what we mean when we say a prolonged state of emergency. Again, we're hoping we never experience that, but in the event of that, we at least have this structure to work from, but it is flexible, so that way if we need to make changes dependent on the type of emergency, we're able to do so. Okay, so starting with the staffing and personnel assignment plan, I promise I'm not going to read this entire plan to you because it's 30 some odd pages. But we did go through reporting protocols for our central office as well as our school administration and our teaching staff, along with support staff. So you can kind of see it's basically ensuring everybody's adhering to their regular job responsibilities and also building in that flexibility depending on where we might have needs during that particular emergency. Underneath of that, student instruction. This is basically just kind of, a lot of this was pulled from our wonderful instructional coordinators that worked on our responsible return plan. It's basically saying that we're going to continue to adhere to our standards regardless of the mode of delivery of instruction, whether it's virtual, in-person, hybrid, whatever that should look like. We're also making sure that we are being equitable with our instruction in terms of access in both, access and our underrepresented groups. Attendance, we're basically going to be adhering to our attendance policies. And we do also have that process outlined for supporting regular student engagement in the virtual environment. Instructional content, I kind of went over that we're going to be adhering to our standards. And then populations for targeted support, I just want to give a shout out to Angela Paris as well as our special education leaders for really kind of giving us some robust guidance around those particular areas for our students. So that's taking all the way through page 12. And on page 12, we have our home and hospital instruction. We want to make sure that everybody, we're addressing all of those populations that might need that additional support. And then beginning on page 13, those are our assessment and learning support plans. This is really where we're talking about diagnostics and ensuring that we are administering those as necessary. And then building support plans depending on students' progress, at least where they measure from that diagnostic through however the state of emergency lasts, and onboarding them back into school with additional supports as needed. So you can see quite a bit of work went into this. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling. I know you guys are flipping pages. But if we move along to page 23, you can see the social and emotional support plans. Lauren Williams, our coordinator of school health services, put this together, and really these are just our best practices that we had coming out of COVID. So we really didn't have to change a whole lot of language on that because we've already got a lot of these practices baked in. And then communication, that is my wheelhouse. And I will say, I kind of took the best of what we had created with our responsible return plan and just kind of removed that COVID language out because I do think a lot of the practices that we had were very effective during COVID. So we've got some practices and protocols in there for both internal and external communication. And then technology plans. I just want to give a big shout out to our instructional technology folks, in particular Nick Genovese and Caleb Wilson. They put a lot of hard work and effort into this to ensure that it was reflective of where we are now in our technology progression, because I know it was very new when we actually were hit with that. So we've made quite a lot of progress. Our teachers are very comfortable with our devices, as are our students. So I believe everything that they have here is very reflective of that. And then on page 32, nutrition and health services plans. Nutrition services, basically we're taking the best practices that we learned from COVID once again, but I do want to make sure everyone is clear that the flexibility that's built in here with curbside, that also, depending on whether or not we have to pivot to curbside, that is something that would have to be approved by MSDE. When we did that during COVID, that was something that USDE ended up having to give special permission to states to do. So in the event that we would like to do that, we would have to request permission for that. And then for health services, we've got a little information there, but we do actually have a really robust partnership with our health department, as well as some of, I believe Tidal Health is actually a partner with us in terms of our telehealth services that we're able to provide for students. So depending on the nature of the emergency, we would still be able to provide them with those services. And then lastly, the return to instruction plan. We actually had a wonderful plan coming back, bringing our students back as quickly as possible from the pandemic. And we did it in a tiered way where obviously stage 1 was everybody in virtual. That stage 2 was when we kind of went to a hybrid model where we had some students still at home. Some students, we brought back our tier 2 and tier 3 students back because they really needed that targeted support. And then stage 3 was an alternating week model, which I don't believe we used very much in COVID, but we still wanted to have that as part of this plan just so we had that added flexibility. And then of course, stage 4 is in-person instruction. So that is walking you through the plan. Again, this was a labor of, I don't know if I'd call it love, but a labor of need for a lot of the central office folks here. So I just want to give them proper thanks for really putting together a robust plan. I really can't take credit for anything outside of communication, but I'm happy to have facilitated this.
Thank you, Carrie. Before I ask for my board members' instructions, I know the superintendent would like to make a comment.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Carrie for her work, but I want the board to know that over the last year and a half, I have asked, I want to say I have dumped on, I have asked Carrie Steers to do a number of jobs outside of her responsibility. This is just an example of the things that she does. She has been a part of our executive team because of the responsibility she's taken on in this organization. Carrie, like others, whether it be Tamara, Sarah, or who, they're one-person shops. I mean, Sarah's responsible for math, pre-K through 12th grade. I mean, we don't have 2 or 3 people. But I want the board to know that Carrie has stepped up in a lot of ways for this organization. When I say this organization, Worcester County Public Schools, and has done a number of things and does it. I think Dr. Wallace, Ms. Shorts, Mr. Tolbert, Dr. App will agree with me the number of things that she has taken on because we're limited in people to do things that is required. Here's a requirement that we didn't used to have, but because of the pandemic, we've had to do that, and that's just one of many. And so I want to professionally and personally thank Carrie Steers for her commitment to our school system. And like when she talked about this, she talked about her wheelhouse, which is communication, and it is. It is her wheelhouse, but she's also got several other wheelhouses that she doesn't talk about. And we are very, very fortunate. I'm telling you right now, I've worked with a number of people. We are very, very fortunate in Worcester County Public Schools to have Carrie Steers. So I want the board to understand that this is an example of about 30 things that I could probably name without taking a breath that she's taken on and led the charge. She has a lot of responsibility in bringing people together. She works closely with every one of us. I see her in with Dr. Wallace and Ms. Shorts. I see her down in Mr. Tolbert's office in the finance. I see her in HR. And when she's not there, she's in my office with things. So Carrie, thank you for what you've done and what you continue to do for this school system. And I want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate it. And I know the board appreciates it as well, but I wanted them to know firsthand. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very kind.
Thank you. Anyone have any other questions? Mr. Gordy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Carrie, since COVID, I've seen Chop Tank Electric out there doing lots with broadband. They have got little orange poles sticking up everywhere out there in the world, at least out where I live in the hinterland out there. You see a covered wagon go by once in a while. Is that going to make it any easier for us to implement our next prolonged state of emergency? Has that work made it, will we have to purchase less hotspots and go through less work?
That is certainly the hope, but we're not there yet with broadband, and I hope that over the next few years, maybe they'll continue to invest in that on the shore, but at this point in time, that's why we still have the mobile hotspots written into the plan.
And I would hope also one of the things that helped us out with hotspots was that communities opened up Comcast Wi-Fi for everyone in the community that was free.
Yes.
So in our townships, like our official sort of townships where Comcast was live and had Wi-Fi, it was opened up free for everyone, whether you subscribed to Comcast or you didn't. Unfortunately, and I can only speak for public landing in Snow Hill. Someone is putting underground wires on my property, but they told us there wasn't going to be any wires put through there. So they're just running, I guess, the conduit or whatever. But we're very hopeful that we will have internet in rural areas soon, because where I live, we have nothing. And so I know during the pandemic, unfortunately, if you had given me a hotspot, it wouldn't have even worked. And there's a lot of students who live in areas like me in Worcester County where literally, like, I can't get a cell phone signal. So we're very hopeful that the internet continues to move. It has been a slow process, but you know, we have a lot of rural area in Worcester County where there's no cable and there's no internet, and there's not even cell phone coverage in quite a few of those areas. So.
Yes, and I will say, even speaking to the mobile hotspots, for those, we actually had students that would come and park in our parking lots in order to use our Wi-Fi within our school buildings. But again, that's an access issue, but we're really, really hopeful that they'll continue to move down that road to bring broadband to the shore in a
Mr. Gordy,
very robust way.
I want to comment on that as well. Our county commissioners have committed to getting that straight for us. Out where Miss Addis and I live, Talkie and Chop Tank are the two providers that the county commissioners have committed to having. And Talkie, out in the other end of the earth, away from you in Bishopville, we've had quite a bit of cable laid underground to make that possible out there, because there's a lot of numbers as well, or a lot of areas as well, that during the pandemic didn't have that. So we have had a commitment from our county government to provide as well, and I think all what Ms. Steers and what Dr. Wallace has said, plus all that, if we have that happen again, I hope we're in better shape. That's hopeful anyway. So I know the county has been strong in helping us with that as well.
I also hope we don't have to find out.
I hope so too.
Amen
So-
to that.
Any other board members have questions? I have one question for you, Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Schmack. I'm sorry.
You're always last,
you-
okay?
No, I'll go last. You go ahead.
Okay. You are doing a very, very good job, Terry, and I want to thank you. Now, when you go on your vacation, relax your mind, leave all the board stuff behind you, and enjoy yourself.
I will certainly try and do that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's one question. This is a very comprehensive plan. I had an opportunity to look through it. The years stated on here are 2024 to 2026. This will be reviewable every 2 years. Is that the plan?
Yes, that's part of the legislation that it needs to come before the board every 2 years.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yes.
And I too want to thank you for all the hard work and effort you put into it. It's very much appreciated by us, and doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you. And
Anybody else?
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the superintendent recommends approval
That was
of the
my next
prolonged
question.
state of emergency plan as presented.
So can I have a motion, to approve the prolonged state of emergency plan as presented? I have a motion by Mr. Smack and a second.
Second.
A second by Ms. McComas. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Ms. Steers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.
I'm staying with you, Ms. Shorts, for the
Yes.
blueprint update.
Yes, very brief again this month. As we heard yesterday at our retreat from Ms. Heiss herself, we should be getting a feedback from our implementation plan either yesterday afternoon, which Worcester County Public Schools did not, or sometime this week. So we will keep you posted around that. As you know, we finished or submitted our plan May 1st and are anxiously waiting approval. We did have two pieces, as did everyone in the state, that were pulled from the plan and are due later. Our literacy plan is not due until the end of June, June 28th to be exact, and Diane Shorts and Cassidy Hamborski are working on that as the pre-K to grade 12 literacy coordinators. And we also have our career ladder, which Dr. App is leading that portion of the plan due July 1st. Our career ladder is finished and ready to submit by July 1st. But that's where we stand, and hopefully, as I said, we'll be receiving feedback soon, and we can update the board on where we are with that. So,
Any questions from Ms.
Yes.
Shorts? Thank you for the update.
Thank you. And with that, that should conclude curriculum instruction, and back to you, Mr. Ferrante.
Thank you, Ms. Shorts. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. App for administrative operations.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrante. Before you, you have your June 18th personnel exhibit for your consideration. Resignations this month: Bridget Quitner, teacher, Pocomoke Middle School. New hires: Mackenzie Parsons, the Nest Child Care Assistant, Worcester Technical High School. Macy Barron, teacher, Pocomoke Elementary School. Patricia Holquist, teacher, Pocomoke Elementary School. Elizabeth Berneski, Pocomoke Middle School. Ashlyn Elliott, teacher, Snow Hill Middle School. Dre Tingle, teacher, Pocomoke Elementary School. Rebecca Matthew, teacher, Pocomoke High School. Kristen Thomas, teacher, Pocomoke Middle School. Holly Beavis, teacher, Cedar Chapel Special School. Lauren Black, teacher, Pocomoke Middle School. Michael Holden Jr., custodian 2, Snow Hill Elementary School. Renee Smith, teacher, Snow Hill Elementary School. And a promotion, we have Mary Helmuth, teacher, going from EA to a teacher at Berlin Intermediate School. The superintendent recommends the approval of the personnel exhibit as presented.
Okay, thank you, Dr. App. Any questions for Dr. App regarding that personnel exhibit? Can I have a motion to approve the personnel exhibit as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Andes. Second. And a second by Ms. McComas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. App. And now, perfect timing. Dr. Wallace, I have you up next for our Board of Education. Dwayne's going to do it? Okay. Dr. App, I'll stick with you then.
Yeah, thank you. 7.2 is our ratification of renegotiations. As the board certainly knows that we had to go into renegotiations with both of our support and our teachers associations. And I am happy to announce today that the new agreements have been ratified. This work, as we had said before to you, is intensive, and we have a great collaborative relationship with our associations, and I want to publicly thank them again. Mr. Ivory Smith, the president of the Worcester County Educational Professionals Organization, and of course we have Beth Shockley Lynch from our Teachers Association. So thank you both for the collaborative spirit that we use to get to these agreements. And today we are here to sign the new ratified agreements. So I need to ask the superintendent recommends approval of your approval of these negotiated agreements before we sign them.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the ratified agreements as presented?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Smack.
Second.
A second by Mr. Gordy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
And I would ask Mr. Ferrante if you and Mr. Taylor would come forth, and if Mr. Smith would come forth as well. We will sign the support agreement first. Again, Mr. Smith, thank you, you and your team for coming back in and working collaboratively with us.
Thank you, Dwayne. Mr. Taylor, Fronte, we thank you. Once again, as he said, this is labor intensive when it comes to making decisions with the employees. So once again, we thank you. Next year, we'll be back at it again, so we'll be ready, so thank you.
Mr. Smith, I just want to say thank you for all that the support staff does for our school system. It's invaluable. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it, and we're happy to be able to get together with you and do it again. Okay?
I'll say this about both groups. This doesn't happen in most counties, whether it's a teachers association or support staff, like it happens here in Worcester County. And when Dr. Abb talked about collaboration and working together, it's just amazing. Certainly when they disagree or have differences of opinions, they all remain professional. And again, if you've been around a long time and seen other organizations, we are a model here. And I also know from their colleagues across the state, because we're a model, they take a lot of heat because it's a more an argumentative type approach to things. But here in Worcester, we've been able to work together with both Mr. Smith's organization and Beth Shockley Lynch. So I thank both of you for that collaboration spirit. Thank you.
And I would ask Beth if she would come forward. We'll sign the Worcester County Teachers Ratified Agreement. We are also going to sign, we have 2 MOUs we're going to be signing as well.
Timing is everything.
Don't report.
Again, thank you so much, Beth, for working collaboratively with us. I know it was tough, but we got through it, so thank you again.
And Beth, all I can say is it's been an extremely tough couple of years, but we're happy to be able to give this opportunity, and we appreciate what the commissioners did as well. We're happy to be able to give this very justified raise to you guys, and we appreciate all the hard work and effort that went into it on your part. Thank you.
We'd just like to thank the board. This has been a difficult year, but your undying support is so very much appreciated. I certainly hope we don't have to renegotiate again next year. That would be a highlight for us. But I think our community and our teachers and our support staff all stuck together and did an awesome job of showing how much they truly appreciate and value our school system. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll say rather quickly, my executive team doesn't like when I call them at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. But Beth and I, this doesn't happen either. Beth and I communicate on a regular basis. Superintendent and president of the association doesn't talk as much in other counties as Beth and I do, but Beth, I call you at 8 o'clock at night too. We got to get a job done. We got to get it done. But she will reach out to me consistently, and I appreciate that. She's even will call me and say, "Can I stop by your office?" My door's always open, and we have a very strong professional relationship, but we also have a very strong friendship, and that's what makes the difference here in Worcester County. And Beth, I appreciate you more than you know, and I thank you, as everybody said today, for your hard work, as well as Ivory's on your leadership in making this all come together.
Back to you, Mr. Ferrante.
Okay, Dr. Epp, thank you. I also want to take the time to thank you and your staff and everybody that helped during part of this negotiation process. I know it's never easy, but we managed to get through it, and everybody to be able to work together, so thank you. And now I will turn it over to, I guess, Ms. Dr. Wallace for the Board of Education meeting schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrante. This time it definitely is me, not Dr. Apt. So before you have a Board of Education proposed meeting schedule for the 24-25, I guess I'll say school year. And so you can note there that there are blue highlighted meetings. Those are our heavy recognition months, because I know as you plan your schedule, it's important to know that. And then I will share that, there's the public input meeting in December, which is at night, and then there are 2 other meetings there that have asterisks by them to indicate night meetings. I will share with you that last year you did add the November meeting as a night meeting. So that is there for your discussion and then direction and then your approval based on the superintendent's proposal.
Okay, now I'll open up to any board members to have discussion regarding our meeting schedule, upcoming meeting schedule for the year. Ms. Hattis?
I would like to make a motion to add one more regular night meeting with the September meeting, as well as adding a night meeting with the budget work session in February. Speaking with constituents and looking at the attendance that we've had the last year with our night meetings, I feel like it is warranted to have another. But I also have heard from a lot of my constituents in regards to the budget process and trying to be more involved. And once again, the day meeting was an issue with that as well. So I would like to make the motion to have one more added night meeting for September again, and the budget work session in February 4th, changed to an evening meeting as well.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Hattis. Do I have a second? No second, and the motion dies.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I am too. I think
What I would like to say is we have the opportunity to change the meeting schedule going forward. We have a night meeting coming up in July. So I think this is something that what I would ask you is we could look at this, especially the budget work session meeting, to maybe have that as a night meeting for input. Now we do have in the December meeting, that is also a night meeting, and that's our input meeting right there. But I think what we would do is we give our opportunity for our board to think about this going forward, and then we can make adjustments accordingly if we see fit.
In regard to the budget work session, in regard to the budget work session, February 4th, we have no public comment in that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Board members, is that something that we would consider moving forward in some of our meetings? We would actually take a look at it. We could adopt this for the current time period, and then we would move forward. We would look at the future meetings, whether or not we would change those meetings either to night meetings.
So would that then be brought up onto our agenda
Yeah,
at a later point in time?
We can put it on a board agenda.
Okay.
Oh, that be the case, then I make a motion to table that.
Well,
Okay,
the
can I
motion,
make
the
one?
motion died, so the motion died with the lack of a second. But go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
I just have one question for thought. If the September is something you want to consider, I don't know how beneficial in the middle of July with people on vacations a night meeting is. So my suggestion would be maybe if you want to go to the September one, then do away with the night meeting in July. That's just a thought. You can leave it as is, but it's up to you.
Yeah, that's already scheduled. I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, but the July meeting is our night meeting that we have in order to celebrate our GED graduates, because that worked better for our families. That is a huge night meeting for us. And I will also point out that you need to adopt a calendar, so you will need a motion to
Yes,
adopt.
I'm planning to do
Okay.
that, Dr. Wallace.
apologize, I forgot about
It's
the
okay,
GED.
we've got a lot of things going on here, but I got it all covered. We're gonna adopt a schedule for our meetings, but we have the opportunity to change that going forward should we see the need to do that. So I will come back to, I need a motion to
Can
approve.
I just make one more quick comment?
Sure.
Just want everyone to take into consideration, when we look at our meeting schedule, I know there's different colors going on, but and I appreciate that too, by the way, Dr. Wallace, for showing us where those heavy recognition days are, as well as the night meetings. But I just want everyone to consider that right now we currently only have roughly 28% of our total scheduled meetings as evening meetings. So what I was proposing was 2 more evening meetings, 1 regular and 1 budget work session, and that would take us to about 43% evening meetings, which would be a little bit more, half and half. That would be very helpful to the constituents of all of our areas, that if they're not able to make daytime meetings, they're able to come to the evening. That still doesn't interfere with our heavy recognition days.
That's something that we will consider in a future meeting, and we will put it on the board agenda to be discussed. Okay. So yes, Dr. Andes.
If we could bring this back up in July to look at, I think that's what Ms. Addis is saying. If bring it back up in July so we could look at it again. What I heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, we need to approve a calendar today with the understanding that it could be modified to address or add additional night meetings as needed.
That's correct.
So I would make the motion that we adopt the calendar today with reconsideration in July, potentially adding additional night meetings.
Yes, we will have discussion, and should there be a motion, Dr. Andes, to do that, we can move that forward. Okay? So I have a motion by Dr. Andes. Do I have a second to approve today's board meeting agenda?
The calendar.
Calendar.
Second.
A second by Ms. McComas. A motion by Dr. Andes to approve the Board of Education meeting schedule for 2024-2025. And with the opportunity for at the next board meeting, we will have an agenda item to discuss future night meetings at the board. The night meetings will include exactly what's on this.
I'm hearing a lot of chatter, so it's hard to figure this out. But I think there may be, and I think let's just have a discussion in public. I think there may be a clerical issue. I think it's possible that what you all have in front of you may not be what is in board docs. So perhaps we could ask Dawn Peterson to chime in on what her concern is. One in board docs is our normal July and March meeting. What you have in front of you showed that we added November after the fact. So those were our night meetings last year. Right. But the proposed one in the board docs is just the July and March as it was last year at this time.
This isn't it?
It is minus November. November was added after the fact.
And if you look on there, the asterisk for November is black and then the other
It says
3 are
scheduled
blue.
evening meetings.
Got it. So I think for the record,
Thank
Board
you,
President,
Heather.
It may just be helpful for anybody listening at home who may have looked at board docs and can't see what you all have in front of you. Perhaps you could just go over very clearly what meetings are night and what meetings are day.
Okay,
as a
I will be
result
happy
of
to do
Dr.
that.
Andy's motion.
Yes. So at our next this coming July meeting, that's a regularly scheduled meeting. That'll be on July 9th, 2024. That will be a night meeting. On Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, that will be a regular meeting, and that will be a day meeting. Tuesday, September 17th. And when I say day meetings, they start at 12:30, typically is when we start. September 17th will be a regular monthly meeting. That will be a day meeting. Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, will be a regular day meeting. And then Tuesday, November 19th, 2024, that will be a scheduled night meeting to begin at 6:30. Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, will be a public budget input meeting. That will be a night meeting. Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, will be a day meeting. Tuesday, January 21st, 2025, will be a regular monthly day meeting. Tuesday, February 4th, will be a 2025, that'll be a day budget work session, and that's the area Ms. Addis was referring to be a night meeting. Tuesday, February 18th, will be a day meeting. That's 2025. Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, will be a night meeting. Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, will be a day meeting. Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, will be a day meeting. And Tuesday, June 17th, 2025, will be a day meeting. That will be the schedule. Make sure that all board members understand, and everybody out there and who's listening, rather streaming, understands. Those will be our meeting times. We are, in this particular schedule, we are keeping the same number of meetings that we did last year as night meetings, okay?
Read would have your calendar set as your calendar was originally set last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's
not
correct.
the same calendar as you had last
No,
year.
last year we adopted a night meeting, but yes. So yes, I think everybody understands. Is everybody clear? Okay. I have a motion on the floor by Dr. Andes and a second by Ms. McComas to adopt this meeting schedule. Okay? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Let the record show Ms. Addis opposed. Okay? Thank you very much.
Just as clarification, we're going to revisit this in July.
Yes, that was put on the agenda for the July meeting, and we will make sure it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Moving forward, I have this goes to Dr. Wallace again for naming of the school facility.
Good afternoon again. I would like to invite Ms. Melissa Freestadt up to the front for the naming of a school facility component. I'm just going to begin with a little background for the board. We were approached by Commissioner Abbott and our Worcester County Parks and Rec regarding the courts behind Pocomoke Middle School that back up to their school community. Pocomoke Middle School is a community school, if you're familiar with where it is located. So it is located in the heart of Pocomoke and surrounded by single-family homes. The courts that were there were extremely dilapidated. They were to be frank with you, probably they just couldn't be used to the extent that those courts should be used for the community and that the community needs. And so Commissioner Abbott and the County Parks and Rec came with an idea with a grant that they had for some open spaces money to renovate those courts they are originally basketball courts, into a basketball court as well as a multi-purpose court where, as you may know or may not know, Pocomoke's two fall sports are soccer and field hockey as far as sports played on the field. They also have, cross country and volleyball. But the outdoor sports are field hockey and soccer. So there is some conversions on those courts. There's also lighting. We agreed with the help of our board attorney to an agreement with them that they could renovate those facilities. Those facilities are very close. I think they're finishing up some last minute things and waiting on having a ribbon cutting very soon. But Ms. Freestadt is here with you today to follow our board policy with a recommendation for the naming of these courts.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Thank you, board members and the executive team, for having us here today and allowing me to bring forward this name that we would like to propose the renovated courts be called. After consulting with some stakeholders, that includes some of our students from Ed Rising and National Junior Honor Society, we have come to a consensus on a name that we would like to call these courts. We would like these courts to be named Stephen Handy Long Memorial Park. We chose this name for a variety of reasons. I'm just going to share some of the bulleted points that our students chose, were some of the reasons why they wanted this park to be named after him. Stephen Handy Long Memorial Park was chosen for some of the following reasons. Stephen H. Long played a significant role in the history of education in Worcester County, Maryland, particularly in Pocomoke City. He was the first supervisor of colored schools in Worcester County. It was an important position that contributed to the advancement of educational opportunities for all African American students during a time of segregation. Many of you know that we are a minority-majority school, and so that's extremely important for our school culture to represent significant figures in history that have paved the path for many of our students to have the opportunities that they do. As the first supervisor of colored schools, Mr. Long oversaw the establishment and administration of schools for African American children in Worcester County. This role was critical in ensuring that these students had access to education despite the systematic inequalities during that era. Long's position allowed him to advocate for better resources, facilities, and educational materials for African American schools. His efforts were instrumental in improving the quality of education provided to African American students in the county. And those were just some of the reasons why we felt it was important to dedicate an area in memory of Stephen Long, and it is also in the area where the Stephen Long School was, and as they were renovating the courts back there, they found some concrete pillars in the ground that were from the school in addition to some other things. And Stephen Long was murdered. They say he was murdered on the railroad tracks because of his fight and passion for education and educating the African American community. And they also say that he haunts our school, but I don't think that that is true. In a good way. In a good way. That is the name that we are proposing.
So the superintendent would like your approval of the name as presented, the Stephen Handy Long Memorial Park.
Okay, before I call for a motion, I have Mr. Buchanan would like to say something.
Just a question. Is the Stephen Long Worcester County Pioneer Scholarship still in effect in Pocomoke?
That's a great question, Mr. Buchanan. I'm not the principal of Pocomoke High School anymore, but I would be glad to check for you and see if it is. I can check for you and let you know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Was it a community-based scholarship or was it a school-based?
Yeah, it was 15 graduates of Stephen Long Elementary and Worcester High. They got together and put a scholarship together for a deserving, community-focused Worcester County's student from Pocomoke City.
I will check into that, and I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know, but I can't remember.
Okay, so now I'd like to call for a motion to approve the Stephen Handy Long Memorial Park as presented. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'd be glad to make a motion for renaming the park Mr. Long Park. It's my pleasure.
And my
Okay.
pleasure to second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Smack and a second by Mr. Buchanan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it will remain Stephen Handy Long
Thank
Memorial
you.
Park. Thank you very much, Freestat, for the presentation.
Just as a notation, I think most of our schools have a portrait of Mr. Long hanging in the school, which was presented to the school system, I think in 2001, sometime along that time frame, where an organization came forward and created and presented to each of our schools a portrait of Stephen Long, which hangs in all of our schools.
And Dr. Andes, I'm proud to tell you that all 14 of them do have them.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now I'll turn it back to Dr. Wallace for the cafe lease agreement with
I don't even know why I left my seat.
Chef
I
Cropper.
would like to introduce the wonderful, talented, generous, and extremely humble Chef Phil Cropper, who is going to have one of the most, I think, exciting presentations, except for the last presentation, which was very heartwarming. But we're very excited for this project, so I won't say any more, and then I'm going to join him.
All right, thank you. So we have this great new idea in Worcester Tech Culinary because there's never enough time in the day. We wanted to add more things to it. So I want to introduce the Pines Cafe by Worcester Tech Culinary. So the Pines Cafe would be located in the Tidal Health Pavilions in Northgate Ocean Pines. So this would be a community partnership between Worcester Technical High School, Worcester County Board of Education, and Tidal Health. It would be a culinary-focused, student-run teaching cafe that would utilize a vacant spot in the Tidal Health Pavilions in Ocean Pines. The hours of operation would be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3. Those hours are a little bit flexible depending on business. We're looking at about 48 to 50 weeks a year, so this would become a year-round operation. We say, how does that happen when kids are off in the summer? It would be students through an internship and through the Maryland Apprenticeship Program that would be running the cafe, so therefore they would be paid while they're running the cafe. And in order to do the Maryland Apprenticeship Program, they need 450 hours, so they could get their 450 hours over the course of the summer and their senior year. So what is the Pines Cafe exactly? So the Pines Cafe by Worcester Technical High School represents an outstanding educational opportunity and community partnership spearheaded by myself, Chef Cropper, and the Culinary and Pastry Arts program. This remote teaching cafe is a collaboration between Tidal Health and Worcester County Public Schools. As the first initiative of its kind in Maryland, it will offer students an immersive experience in managing a small business. Through its hands-on learning environment, students will acquire essential skills such as purchasing, food costing, customer service, menu development, and community relations. Operating daily from 7 to 3, Monday through Friday, the cafe will be entirely self-sufficient, generating enough revenue to cover salaries, consumables, and overhead costs. Any profits will be reinstated into Worcester Technical High School's Culinary and Pastry Arts program, helping to mitigate the increasing costs and providing high-quality education. This model not only equips students with practical business skills, but also ensures that they are career ready upon graduation. The Pines Cafe exemplifies a successful educational initiative and community partnership, fostering the student development and support of local economic growth. So we kind of wonder, like, how much is this going to cost us, right? So why have a teaching cafe? There's many different reasons. I'm not going to read them all to you, but it's to help with real-world experiences, skill development with CTE, industry exposure, networking opportunities, problem solving, professional and work ethic, career exploration, increased confidence, and a transition to employment. I have some pictures here to kind of show you the space that's already there. Tidal Health opened this cafe pre-COVID when the building was first built, and it was run by the junior board. It was very profitable by the junior board. It was very well used in the community. The hospital decided to close it coming out of COVID because the lady that was running the cafe no longer wanted to work. She wanted to retire, and they decided as a company to get out of the food service business by leasing out all of their food operations, mainly in Salisbury. So this location sat empty for about 3 years. Some more pictures of what it looks like now. And then a small floor plan. This space would be modified with what we're cooking on site, meaning we can't produce any grease as far as the health department's concerned because there's no exhaust or hood system. So it would be like a modified Panera. So if you think acai bowls, baked goods, coffee, breakfast sandwiches in the morning, and then like paninis, soups, salad, and sandwiches in the afternoon, also with carry out. So our culinary program does a lot of take-home meals. So then some customers in the North End, Ocean Pines, Berlin area, would be able to pick up their take-home meals from that area as well. And then the technical high school would be used as a commissary. So the students in the baking and pastry program and the culinary program would be making the soups, making the chicken salad, making the baked goods, and then those would be transported to the cafe where other students that are working at the cafe through the internship or apprenticeship program would actually finish or sell those items. With this, we would need to hire an additional personnel to run it, and that would be, I'm using the word educational assistant, but basically a cafe manager or supervisor. We're using the educational assistant pay scale as someone that would be a contractual or non-contractual person. We're looking to hire 2 to work less than about 25 to 26 hours a week each, so therefore it would be a little bit more affordable for us to have that 2 people oversee the students Monday through Friday. They would be there to facilitate the cafe. Myself would oversee it, and then the students would do most of the work in the cafe. We have sample menus here. This menu was kind of put together just to kind of price it out and see what we were looking at, to see what we were looking to do. The idea is we would start with the menus very similar to what I have up on the screen. And then as the students start to take over the cafe, they would design the menu, cost the menu out, do all the ordering, and run the menu completely themselves. So the menu would be interchanging throughout the year. And this is what we hope to say coming soon in September of 2024 with our partnership with Tidal Health. Any questions?
Dr. Andes?
Is Tidal Health charging us anything for the use of the facility?
Yes, there is a very small fee of $1 per year. So we have a legal contract. It was a very hard negotiation with them. We were back and forth for a while, and we settled on $1 per year, and that wouldn't cover all overhead. So that includes all the utilities and the lease. The only stipulation is I would have to be fingerprinted and become part of Tidal Health to have access to the building with an alarm code before and after hours, a non-paid employee of Tidal Health to have access. The students and our supervisor or manager would only have access to the building when the building is open, which is from 6 in the morning until 5 p.m. because they do labs, and the cancer center there also opens early for treatments where we would also provide food for patients in the cancer center.
What would be the start date? I don't know if you.
It's roughly, we're saying September of 2024. Tidal Health wants us to open tomorrow. Like they want us, sooner than later. I kind of started working on this in December, and it's taken that long to kind of get everything together. The idea is we would start back with the school year. I have 2 students this year that completed my program last year as a junior. So in order to work through the Maryland Apprenticeship Program, you have to have an industry-recognized credential. So those students have their CFC and CFPC certification from finishing the program last year. So they would sign on, one would sign on half a day, working 4 to 5 hours a day, just like a work-study program. The other individual would do 2 or 3 days a week based off of her schedule because she's doing dual enrollment next year, and she's 100% dual enrolled at Warwick her senior year, doing her English and et cetera in classes, so she would work around her Warwick program.
And how many students do you foresee doing this program?
A maximum of 3.
Okay.
We could have some more internships. The difference between an internship and apprenticeship is an internship would be non-paid. So basically, if there's a student that needs the skill and wants to get the hours, but they may not be able to receive 450 hours to hit the state mandate, then they would be doing an internship.
And is this kind of like a quote-unquote job where they would have to find transportation for themselves, or are we providing transportation?
No, they would have to have transportation on their own. So that's part of the Maryland Apprenticeship Program, is that you have to have your own transportation.
Okay. And then I guess this is more or less a question for Mr. Tolbert, as far as with the current budget that we have, is this something that the money will come back for those positions that are hired, or are we looking to then have to fund that?
So I can actually answer
Okay.
that, I hope. So we did write a rebuild grant. So the idea is that we would have some startup money for this year to cover the salary of the supervisor that we hire. After that, after the initial year, the cafe will be self-sufficient. So what we hope to do is take all the income that's profitable after all of our costs and tuck that away and save it for next year. After 1 or 2 years, building that revenue up, we should have enough revenue with a cushion to cover the internship, the apprenticeship wages, as well as the daily operating costs of the cafe.
Okay, thank you.
So it should be self-sufficient.
And do you have anyone in mind yet for those positions if this gets passed today?
No.
Okay.
As far as the supervisor position,
Yes.
no. Ideally, what I would like to see is someone that's already in the school system as like a retired lunch personnel. Ideally, we need less than 25 hours a week. So if it's 2 people and they could do 2 days or 3 days back and forth, and they've already been vetted to work with kids and they just want a little extra income,
Yep.
we're not talking a large salary. So.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that as Mr. I'm so excited about this. This is like, there are dreams that I have for our kids in our school system, and that is that when every kid leaves us, it's always been a dream of mine since I've been an administrator. It's like my core value that when every kid leaves us, they will continue to educate themselves and they will find themselves gainfully employed. What Chef Cropper is doing as the first person in the state of Maryland to do this, to come up with this idea, the connections that he has, not only with the community, which is what brought this to him, but with his students, that he already has kids who are ready. You've heard probably in our end of the year things that we are probably close to having, the state is requiring 45% of students either have an industry, an IRC, as Phil mentioned, or have a registered apprenticeship, be a part of an apprenticeship program. We are close to that number when we talk about the number of students finishing our programs at Worcester Technical High School, but all of them don't have IRCs. So one of the things that we've been talking about is, and you've heard a lot about it, the Nest already this school year. We have more apprenticeships in the Nest than we have total, I believe, in our whole county of apprenticeships that we have. So we'll be adding 2 more apprenticeships here. It's not limitless because obviously you have a certain number of people in a restaurant. You don't want to oversaturate the cafe with workers, but we can also be doing some internships with it. These are the things that like make my dreams come true for our kids. And I want to thank you, Phil, for the work that you do. He never stops trying to innovate. He is a model for educators in our county, and as much mud that's been slung at our school system, it's shameful. Because this is the kinds of things that we are doing for kids, and we should be so proud of this work. This will be self-sustaining. If it is not self-sustaining, it will not stay open, just like the Nest. I'll say that again because there might have been some confusion today out there in the media. If the Nest is not self-sustaining, the Nest will not continue. We are very savvy when it comes to the business model with these sorts of things. So I want to thank Phil for the work. He has been working on this since December. I am proud of him, and I know the board is proud of you, so thank you for everything you do. And the superintendent would be, I believe this is an action item.
Yes, it is.
So he'd be seeking your approval.
So any other board members have any comments before I go ahead, Mr.
And
Cropper?
it would be a 3-year lease with us having the option to review it after every year.
Right.
So.
Any other board members have any comments? I just want to say, from a real-world experience opportunity, this is an incredible opportunity for our students to get an on-hand experience working at this cafe, to see how employees are taken care of, to see an operation, to see how the business cycle works and what they need to do. So my hat is off to you for bringing this to fruition, as well as I want to thank Title Health for that hard negotiated lease of $1. and for contributing, and it's nice of them to do that, but I think they know that they're going to have a quality product, and that speaks to you bringing this forward. So I want to thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
So,
And I want to thank Dr. Wallace and Ms. Stansberry for all their hard work. I've had a lot of emails back and forth on lease and what can we do, what can't we do, and they're always there to guide me through it. So
thank you. And then the only other thing I want to add, this certainly I feel will pass today, but it will also, I want it to be subject to the review of our board attorney. So she'll review the lease just to make sure everything is in hand.
And I have, and Jeff Cropper has been a delight to work with. And I do believe now that Ms. Peterson has the version that can be signed today.
Okay, great. Thank you. So can I have a motion to approve the Pines Cafe lease agreement as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Buchanan and a
Second.
second by Ms. McComas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Chef Cropper.
thank you. Thanks.
We'll be coming to visit you. And now it's back to you, Dr. Wallace, for the safety update.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrante. We have recently received our newest round of safety grant applications. So our grants office, as well as Mr. Sean Goddard, are working to complete those, along with our partners at the Sheriff's Office who are in partnership around a few of those grants. One of those grants is the SRD grant that we write for them that helps them with their budget. So we are working on those. Our Safe and Supportive Schools training will continue this summer as we started off last year. The Safety Summit is on July 29th and 30th. So hopefully you got an email invite to that. Okay, good. It was an email invitation. So that is July 29th and 30th. And then we will continue our Safe and Supportive Schools training with a continuation of training around those documents with our school leadership. We do have a few new principals, one of them who is new to our district. So that principal will get some significant training around all of our documents and our practices and our policies and procedures. And then we do have quite a few new vice principals as well. So they will receive additional training in addition to just the updates the rest of our staff receives. We also have Polly Bath Behavioral Summer Institute, and we will continue our restorative practices work, which is all a part of supporting a safe and supportive school environment. So those are my updates that I have.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Any questions for Dr. Wallace regarding the safety update? Okay. Thank you so much. Now we're turning to physical operations for Educational Master Facilities Plan. Mr. Tolbert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ferrante. We have Mr. Joe Price, our facilities planner, who has the 24-25 Educational Facilities Master Plan for the board's consideration today. It's a huge amount of work. It's a lot of great information, and Mr. Price does a great job to put it all together. So, Mr. Price.
Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. Included in your exhibits is the 24-25 Educational Facilities Master Plan. Each Designer requires to update the master plan and send the interagency commission on school construction. In this year's plan, we've updated the enrollment section to reflect actual September 23 enrollment and our projections through 2033. We report on completion of partially state-funded Cedar Chapel Playground and the upcoming Snow Hill Middle Cedar Chapel Roof Project, and ongoing discussions between the state and local officials regarding the Buckingham Elementary Places project. Beginning on page 108, we've identified all recently completed projects and future proposed projects. And I'd like to thank Nikki Kaplan for keeping up with all of my revisions and for putting the final document together. The superintendent recommends board approval of the master plan and publication before the
Any questions for Mr. Price? Seeing none, I can have a motion to approve of Mr. Buchanan.
Mr. Price, how many times have you appeared before the Board of Education with updates?
This is my 407th briefing.
Thank you very much.
We-
Very questioned it before, so I brought you the
Yeah. Mr. Price, we just don't get to see you enough. So, can I have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Educational Facilities Master Plan and an authorization to move forward the plan of the Interagency Commission on School Construction?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Andes. Second. A second by Ms. McComas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, Mr. Price.
Again,
Dr. Andrews would
I
like to
just
say
want to
something.
thank Mr. Price for his outstanding job that he does. And also, if you want to know anything about our school system, that 166-page facilities master plan contains it all. And I thank him for updating it. I thank him for making it available to our public. And I did read all 166 pages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Price. My last item is the monthly financial report for the month of May. Mr. Ferrante, with non-salary expenditures totaling $3,995,165.49. The superintendent recommends approval of the May financial report as presented.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve and a second to approve the May 31st, 2024 monthly financial report as presented?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Smack.
Second.
A second by Mr. Gordy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. You're welcome. Okay, and now as I move into the Board of Education reports, at our last budget, revised budget hearing, we needed to make an approval. I did say something regarding Mrs. Addis' comment regarding the RVs that we had for the last couple of years and we received as a grant. And at that time, I was under the impression, I think, that we had been restricted to sell them. And so I asked Dr. Wallace to go in to look at that to see if that was true. And Dr. Wallace, if you can give us the report on that, because I know we applied for a second grant.
Yes. So to fulfill the requirements of the first grant, the WOW grant, that concluded on September of 2023. Upon fulfilling the requirements of that grant, obviously, if you didn't fulfill the requirements of that grant, they can like pull your funding back is the idea, right? If you don't honor the grant. We honor the grant, which means all of those things become our assets. So technically, we could sell them. We would not have to give them back. Ms. Addis had also, I think, followed up some questions from Mr. Tolbert, and I believe he's probably sending her something. I'm going to send something around, though, for the board. This gives you the direct language around where this was written in our second grants. There was some questions about proving, I guess, that it actually was written in the grants. So these are the excerpts and exactly what page it comes from each of the grants. And as you get that, you will see that Worcester on Wheels vehicles are currently integrated into 2 21st century community learning grants. And those expenditures, salaries, maintenance are being funded through the grants. And then you can see each excerpt from the first grant, which is the elementary grant, and the second grant, which is the secondary grant, and the specific pages where those, I guess, we're providing the receipts that they are there in the document. So just for you to have, in case you were wondering, and for clarification, that it would be possible. Unfortunately, now though, we've written another grant, not unfortunately, fortunately, we've written another grant, so they are included, and we have to meet the requirements of this grant. So selling them really would not be an option, because then we would be breaking another grant. So a little different.
And when is that grant concluded?
That grant, I believe, yeah, it's 2 more school years. It began the last school year, so there are 3-year grants. So we have 2 more school years in these grants currently. Yep.
Any questions on that? Okay. Board members, anyone wishing to make a comment, please go ahead. Here you have the floor. Dr. Andes?
A few items. I want to thank everyone who's working to pull together our summer school programs or summer academies. I know that takes a tremendous amount of effort and work on behalf of all aspects of the school system, everything from transportation and custodians and building principals and so forth and so on, and teachers and Ms. Mills and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to thank everyone who's working to put those summer academy programs that I believe start next week. Secondly, I want to welcome our new student board members. I look forward to working with you. Enjoy your senior year. It goes by real fast, faster than any school year you've ever had before. And I will bug you about the FAFSA. I will bug you about getting early applications in to your colleges, universities for early admittance. I will bug you, so be prepared for me bugging you. And your parents will appreciate the fact that I'm bugging you. Third thing is, I want to extend my appreciation and thanks to the Snow Hill Middle School and Cedar Chapel Special School staff and custodial staff, because they have to move because we're doing the roof. And they had to, example, Cedar Chapel had to pack up everything and move it to Snow Hill High School. And I don't know about you, as it's those of us who were teachers, if you told me school ends on Thursday and you get Friday to pack and you're moving, that would take a tremendous amount of energy on my part. So I just wanted to extend my appreciation and thanks to the Snow Hill Middle School staff, Cedar Chapel Special School staff, and our maintenance facility folks who actually physically moved them from one location to the other location. My last comment for today, we have a custodian here at Central Office who's retiring, and that's Ruth Blake. And Ruth has been here for a number of years. And in my prior life, when I was working late, Ruth would show up in my doorway and give me that look. And that look was, you need to leave this building because I want to go home look.
Still does.
It still does. So I just wanted to thank Ruth for her years of service to our school system and how much I deeply appreciate her as an employee, but also as a person. So Ruth, I wish you the very best in your retirement, and we will dearly miss you and deeply appreciate your contributions. And my wife deeply appreciates the fact that you told me to go home. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Andes. Anyone else wishing to make any comments? Mr. Buchanan. Sorry, Mr. Quinn.
I'm pleased that that we renamed and showed some recognition for Stephen Long in Pocomoke at the athletic compound that we're going to be having and sharing in Pocomoke. I was always kind of concerned that after Stephen Long Elementary School was not used, that his name was kind of lost in Pocomoke history, and I'm glad that we are putting his name back as the important African-American educator that he was for Pocomoke.
Thank you, Mr. Gordy.
Oh,
Mr. Gordy, everybody calls me after meetings and said, would you please get Mr. Gordy to talk in his mic? That's why I keep saying it.
I'm sorry. I'll go to mic in service this summer and see if I can't get this figured out. Thank you. I missed the last board meeting, and I apologize for that. But I just wanted to say to all the staff, the board, the teachers, our community, all of you who work so hard to help obtain a reasonable compensation package for our staff, teachers and staff and everybody this year. It was truly a community effort, and I think it paid off, and I just wanted to thank all of you for your hard work to get that done. And I know it took a lot of hard work, so we appreciate that immensely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordy. Any other board member wishing to speak? Okay. I just want to thank all the hard work and heavy lifting that was done by our executive team here. They put in a lot of hours and a lot of late nights, and as well as our sports staff and our teachers. So I just want to thank them for getting it done and getting us back to hopefully having another successful school year looking forward. So thank you so much. And now for informational items, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Taylor.
Yes, I just have three very quick items today. First, I want to let everyone know that in honor of Juneteenth holiday, that our school offices and central office will be closed tomorrow, Wednesday, June the 19th. On June the 24th, as I said in my comments today, I'll remind everybody again, we will start our 5-week summer program. And again, I can't thank Tamara Mills enough for her leadership in getting that program in gear so quickly after we let out of school. And on July the 1st, our STAT camp begins at Worcester Technical High School, which is an outstanding program. And if you get a chance to stop into either our summer schools or our STAT camp, I encourage you to do so, because you will see learning continuing and kids having a great time as being a part of those. So again, those three important dates, please remember.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Our upcoming regular scheduled Board of Education meeting will be held Tuesday, July 9th 2024 in the Sarah D. Thompson Board Meeting Room at the Worcester County Board of Education Central Office located at 6270 Worcester Highway in Newark, Maryland. The open session will begin at 5:30 p.m. Immediately consider voting to convene in closed session under Articles 3-305B of the Annotated Code of Maryland. The board will reconvene in open session at 6 o'clock, and the board meeting information is posted on the website www.worcesterk12.org, located under Board Meetings, Board Docs. And now I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn today's open session and a second.
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Smack.
Second.
A second by Ms. McComas. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.